Rita, you mentioned it, the Rabbitohs, they're aiming for just their second premiership in 50 years. They've got to get past this preliminary match, which has been a stumbling point for the last 3 years straight. What is it that they need to do differently to make sure that they go further than they have? What's been stopping them from going right through to the decider?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's the answer. The answer Wayne's trying to find, and spent this week trying to find Wayne and that footy team. I mean, I think their big guns have got to stand up. You know, we talk about the left side attack and Cody Walker and you know, Adam Reynolds. Those guys, for me, have got to stand up in this game. They've got to lead the way and get them over the line because they haven't been able to do it for the past 3 years. And we can talk about you know, what Wayne's achieved over the course of his career. I mean, he's the greatest coach arguably that's ever lived, but it's been beyond him as well. So there's a little psychological scar there for him as well. I mean, but for me, the big guns have got to stand up. That's the key. They've got to stop Tommy Travoy, which we can talk about how dangerous he is. But your big players have got to stand up in the biggest games. And Cody Walker has had an amazing year for South, and he's got to own this game for me.
That's where they miss Sam Burgess. Because Sam Burgess was this type of player who, when a couple of other guys, and Cody Walker's, it's been mentioned about him, get nervous in big games, he settles them down and he takes the lead and it's like, just follow me, guys. And it calms everyone down. Whereas without Sam there, that's fallen more responsibility on the players. Reedy spoke about the Reynolds and the Codys and whatnot. And they've got to step up these days. But this South Sydney this week is a different South Sydney than the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And let's be really clear on that. They are a different team.
I totally agree with that because at this time of year, performance obviously wins you games, but it needs to be underpinned by something. And that emotion that's in and around South at the moment with Wayne Bennett, Reynolds leaving, the Latrell situation, like that team responded like their brother went down and they played like they were thinking of him. So, and we've heard the reports about what came out of Wayne Bennett's chat before the game. So I think there's a little bit of difference about South Sydney this year to the last three, and they are in the box seat to go on.
I said to Wayne years ago, I said, do you know when you've got a team that can win a comp? As a, you know, obviously you're hopeful every year, but when you know you're going to, do you know? And he said, oh yeah. He said, it's things that stand out. And I said, what are they? And he said, I'm not telling you. But what I'll say to that, right, so I'm fascinated by it. But what I'll say is Wayne, and having watched him for the best part of 30 years now, Wayne gets into a mindset himself when he recognises it. And all he's done with this side since about 8-9 weeks ago, since Origin essentially, is basically just calm them down, tell them how well they're going, making it fun for them, making them want to play with each other, make them all just on this upward swing together. And every time, even when they had a bad performance, he came in, I'm not too concerned about that. Whereas when he's trying to get them to get somewhere, he'll give them a kick in the backside. But he realises it's all in place. All I've got to do is keep him happy. And that's all he's done. It's like a jockey in the back straight of the Melbourne Cup. He's just put the horse to sleep and just sat there just clicking along. And now, this week and next week is when they'll really get the coaching into them.
So Wayne didn't tell you what he sees, but you saw a change in Wayne. That was his tell. Well, you've seen this time and time again.
Look, I've watched him. I watched the way he talks at press conferences, the way he talks to his players. The message, Wayne's, and we saw a classic example a couple of weeks ago with the Ivan Cleary situation. Wayne understands that the press conference isn't an occasion to sit down and tell you the truth about how he feels or what he saw out in the game. It's a message to send to his players. He knows that they'll be reading it. That press conference, they were on the bus home that night on their phones watching it back. Yeah. And they all got a kick out of the way Wayne gave it to Ivan Cleary. But it was all put on. Vonnie, the whole press conference was put on for his players. That's what I'm saying. That's the magic of him. He's got this internal strength there to ignore his own emotions and to just feed what the players need. And that's where he's been really coaching towards.
And to Reedy's point about the big guns, so Wayne will do that to his group, but then the big guns need to do that to the inexperienced players.
Yeah.
In finals, the big guns need to get up in front of the room and say, I've got this, follow me, I've got this, whatever. Because then the inexperienced guys are the ones that are on edge thinking, uh-oh, can we do this, can do this? When they look around and see Cody Walker saying, I got it, then they buy in.
And he'll be into Cody Walker this week, but he won't be putting any pressure on him. He'll be just telling him, mate, just keep doing what you're doing. Mate, you don't need to do anything different. Just keep doing what you're doing, because that's what Cody needs. Cody needs to go and feel like it's just another game.
It's a big game for Cody Walker, because,
Very
I mean,
big.
Origin, he's struggled at times to stand up in Origin.
Yeah.
As I said, the past 3 prelims, they haven't got over the line. It's a big night for
And
Cody
he hasn't
Walker.
been a good... He hasn't played... You wouldn't say he played well in any of those prelims, really. Like
So it's huge for him.
Well, Wayne said a few weeks ago before one of the games that he would put Cody Walker in his best ever side that he's ever seen
That's
or
part.
coached.
Bonnie. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To you. That's exact. But whether it's right or not,
Just
doesn't
sprinkle
matter.
it around, yeah.
Whether it's right or not, whether he believes it or not, doesn't matter. What he wants is he wants Cody to read that.
And Cody to believe it.
And he'll be saying, Cody, don't watch 360 tonight. Because
I don't think they do.
Because he doesn't like.
fan of yours,
It's like the Wizard of Oz when he pulled the curtain back.
He's that anonymous
What this show,
email.
yeah. I know. All we do is pull a beard off Santa. It's very
exactly,
sad.
yeah. We just demyth.
Wayne Bennett, you mentioned that you've been watching for the best part of 30 years. This is his 30th finals campaign. So there's nothing that he hasn't seen or done or know what to expect. Des Hasler, he loves keeping the outsiders off balance. And it's always us. We're like, where's he coming from? He's so hard to read. So when you're coming down to mind games between the coaches, who wins this one?
What are they going to? They won't have mind games
They'll
against
ignore
each other.
each
It won't be like last week.
No.
I mean, Des is going to feed Wayne, and Wayne's not going to feed Des because they're too smart. They've been doing it for too long. So I don't imagine there'll be a whole lot of public
Neither of them will fall
play
for
in the
it.
games. It won't be.
Neither will fall for it. There'll be none of that between the coaches. The fascination about Des is the kooky reputation he has. His team's probably the most conservative team. They play a very conservative brand, and there's this stick of dynamite called Tom Travojevic, who just sparks them all up.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, it's all about completions, trying to get... It used to be 80% with Des. That was always his magic mark. But as everyone's getting towards 80, Des is now lifting it to 90, see? But that's essentially it. And if Des gets his share of possession, then he believes that they've got the firepower to get the game.
Whoever loses, it'll be the shortest press conference after the game in history. They will not be
Won't
happy.
be.
Yes, no, I'm out of here.
And you can bet your bottom dollar Des is telling his players this week, give them nothing. Tell them nothing.
them nothing.
Don't give them any ammunition.
Under the radar.
Say as little as you can. Because that's what Des is like.